So, 1989, Michael Moore brought me to this spot. And so in the oral tradition, this is a lineage. This is kind of like, I learned a lot of plants from him for the very first time in this canyon, on this slope, up and down Mount Graham and such. So this is a very exact spot where we literally sat in 1989. It was springtime and we talked about pulsatilla. Because these hills can be coated with anemone in February and March. A lot of amazing medicine plants here. Mount Graham, this road's called Marhilda Canyon Road. Marhilda Canyon itself is laden with large volumes of water down this canyon. So throughout the year there can be many botanical surprises. There's Lobelia cardinalis and Lobelia inflata in that canyon. And Lobelia inflata is not really a western plant. I mean, it's just like, there are so many anomalies on this mountain. There's pokeroot here, there's our subarctic plants, there's alpine plants, there's Colorado and Montana-like medicines up top. Well over 200, somewhere between 200 and 250 plus edible and medicinal plants on Mount Graham. That's an amazing amount of medicine plants. For many years, I stopped coming here because they built the telescopes up top, and it was like really like environmental combat taking place. There was a lot of Earth First protesting, and the rangers and the police would hassle groups like this. We were just, because they think we were Earth Firsters, or we were here to protest. But it's mellow now. Here we are, and first plant we're going to talk about is Artemisia. This is Artemisia ludoviciana. The genus Artemisia and species ludoviciana. You know, some people call it mugwort, wormwood. Estafillate is a common Spanish or common Mexican herbal traditional name given to almost a half dozen different mugworts. It gets confusing because I'm throwing out a lot of different names, but Artemisia is what I like to say. That's an Artemisia and or a wormwood and or a mugwort. Those are kind of like the sequence of names that I like to use. But Artemisia. Beautiful name. Every Artemisia has a half a dozen names to it. Artemisia abstinent is where the powerful liquor, alcoholic / narcotic / hallucinogenic beverage comes from. And that's one type of Artemisia. That's Artemisia abstinent. And in the southwest here, we have at least 10, 15, 20 species, depending on what altitude you are at. I use them all. Some taste better than others, some are really gnarly. If you're up by Taos or Santa Fe or northern New Mexico or northern Arizona, you're going to get Artemisia trigantata, the one that makes the famous Taos sage smudges. Or they call it sage sometimes. It's not a sage, it's not a salvia, it's not a true sage at all. But that one's too gnarly to ingest. This is one of my favorite for internal use. And this makes for a great digestive bitter as a tea, as a dry plant extract, a fresh plant extract. We can take this plant internally to stimulate digestion, just literally chewing on this Artemisia, which of course, you know I'm going to ask everybody to chew on this, and everybody in 30 minutes is going to be ravenously hungry, because that is what bitters do. They stimulate digestion. They kind of get the gastric secretions flowing. But I want you to, if you haven't experienced this is a requirement. If you really need to take some of it. Fresh plant, dry plant, tea, doesn't matter. Any way you can take it internally, from literally eating it like we are, to making a tea from it, to making extracts, whether they're fresh or dry. Any of the herbal pharmacy methods for internal consumption is applicable with this Artemisia. This one's really, it's nice. It's bitter. If you were to make a tea from this and you had dry leaf material, we're talking like a quarter teaspoon of the dry leaf per cup of tea is sufficient. It doesn't have to be, if you make it too strong or you chew on this for too long, you're going to feel a lot of secretions, a lot of gastric movement, a lot of digestive juices flowing. You might even start to get nauseous if you make it too strong or chew it for too long. That little bit I put in my mouth is like making me drool. So that is an important mechanism. Some of you heard me talk about digestive bitters and the importance of preparing your stomach to begin digestion. 1/3 of American health problems is a lack of bitters, is a lack of digestive preparedness. As a practicing herbalist with an herb shop, 1/3 of the people walking through the door need bitters. 1/3 of the people coming into the shop, I need to examine, do they have bitters? Do they have enough gastric secretions? Are they eating gulping in dry and eating quickly, and the food is arriving at the stomach and then digestion begins? Digestion should start in the mouth. 25 to 30% of all digestion takes place in the mouth, and you need saliva. You need the saliva and the triggering of enzymes and digestive juices, because literally 30 minutes from now, by chewing this, we're going to feel, our stomachs are going to begin to growl. Our digestive juices are online and active, and this whole concept will treat 1/3 of American health complaints, and definitely 1/3 of American health complaints that are tied to the standard American diet. These are people that don't know about dietary health, and they eat standard American food. They buy those foods that really just kind of never digest, kind of sit there, and they get a lot of illnesses and diseases as a result of the standard American diet. And 1/3 of the people that I've seen coming into the herb store who were definitely on the standard American diet, which is lots of carbs, lots of gluten, lots of sugars, lots of processed foods, lots of foods, and they also have a lifestyle that is fast. They don't really sit down and eat. They gulp, eat their food. They bypass 25% of the digestion, which is chewing the food, the triggering of the GI, the upper GI, through chewing, through saliva. And you've heard me say this, some of you, that bitters were once upon a time, served always before meals. Bitter greens, bitter salads. The traditional salads that we've come to